Human Rights Day this year is celebrated in atmosphere where many important questions are being raised all over the world. But in Asia in particular, there are serious problems relating to human rights. This year, the Asian Human Rights Commission joins others on this Human Rights Day by presenting a very extensive report on the state of human rights in 11 Asian countries. Great amount of information and analysis on the human rights problems will be found in this report, prepared by the desk officers of the Asian Human Rights Commission, who are in charge of each of the countries. The major problem that emerges in almost all the countries in Asia is the failure to protect human rights by the state, and this failure is mostly reflected in the weaknesses and inadequacies of the judicial systems. Judicial systems are, on the one hand, defective from the point of view of powers and the capacities that the legislature has given to the courts. On the other hand, there are serious administrative problems, such as enormous delays in adjudication, complete neglect of in the investigative branches, where almost always impunity is granted by virtual non-investigation into human rights abuses. In general, the budgeting for administration of justice is at the lowest levels. While the military budgets go higher and higher, the budgets that are allocated for investigations into crime, into development of a proper policing systems with modern facilities, into the development of judicial officers by proper training, as well as providing necessary facilities for speeding up trials and ensuring fair trial. In all these areas, the funding is extremely limited. Inadequacies of funding leads to bad policing with enormous possibilities for corruption for the officers in charge of these investigations. When the investigation process is defective, virtually the fair trial has no chance. Trials are possible only when evidence is properly collected, when the people who are victims of crime has a proper chance of being supported by investigative and prosecuting branches. The problems of victims of crime is very heavy in almost all Asian countries. Crime often becomes a means by which the many people could be able to make a profit. often the criminals escape and substitute criminals are placed in their position, and many innocent people are subjected to severe problems. The defective nature of the administration of justice manifests itself in the worst form by the widespread torture that is in many parts of Asia. Almost all policing is by way of torture. Even a petty thief is tortured to extract a confession. The result is that many innocent people are being exposed to severe forms of torture because the policing systems believe that by this method some kind of fishing into evidence can take place and they may be able to find some evidence. None of the governments are taking a serious look into the issue of prevention of torture, despite of the fact that they have signed the UN documents relating to prevention of torture. International obligations are disregarded without batting an eyelid. International obligations are often merely a way of showing some kind of deference to these norms internationally, but locally they are being severely ignored. It is under this kind of situation that the ordinary citizens lose their lives in Asia. The result often is that in the basic problems of life, such as the protection of right to food, right for water, right for shelter and sanitation, in all these areas there are people who are deprived heavily, and the large section of people live under what is now known as the poverty line. And even those who live just above this poverty line live in very low income levels with little protection of any of the rights. Rights to education, rights to health are severely neglected for the poorer sections of society. More and more, there is a section in every Asian country which belongs to a very high income levels and who have the better types of education, better types of hospitals and other facilities, while the larger sections of the populations live under a state of neglect. Under these circumstances, governments fear criticism. As a result, there are heavy impositions of limitations of freedom of expression and freedom of speech. Journalists are treated almost like criminals in many places. They have to often look for their own security, and there are many instances where the journalists have been killed. Freedom of expression is severely threatened, and this is an area that requires attention for any person who cares for human rights as well as for democracy. Under such situation of lack of protection of law, it is no surprise that in many places forced disappearances are taking place in quite significant numbers. Now, forced disappearance is the worst manifestation of the lack of legal security. The countries in this region have not shown much interest in the UN Convention against the forced disappearances, and there are very few signatories to this convention. This issue needs to be seriously taken up both by the local human rights communities and by international community. Another major human rights problem is relating to the land rights of the poor. The poor are often pushed away from even the small areas that they occupy for their houses, and also many of their livelihoods depends on where they reside. For example, the fisher folk and the indigenous people. They are often being chased away from these places under the pretext of what is called development projects. Development through violence has become a mode that exists almost everywhere in Asia now. It is not development with respect for human rights, with a human rights approach that prevails, but development through unmitigated violence. These are all serious problems that prevails in this area. But despite of all this, one thing that is manifest is that more and more people from all walks of life are showing their aspiration for higher standards of respect for human rights in their countries. Demand for human rights have increased in the region. The knowledge of the human rights, the awareness of human rights, and the assertion of people, of all people, the women folk in particular, demanding their right place in the society have increased, despite of heavy violence that exists against women in many parts of Asia. So it's on the one hand, ever increasing demand for human rights by the people and a severe neglect on the part of the states. This need to be resolved. The state need to pay respect for the wish of their people who demands greater respect for life. If the governments begin to respect the wish of the people, there will emerge a situation of great possibilities for improvement of rights in the Asian region. If the rights situation improves, it will also help proper development, also with democracy and rule of law institutions being better established in the region. In this aspect of improving of rights, greatest attention should be placed on the development of the judicial institutions with proper freedom. Therefore, putting proper budgets, proper funding into the administration of justice should be the message that should echo during this celebration of the Human Rights Day. In the future, the human rights will become greater meaning to the people of this area if greater budgeting and greater funding is allocated to the administration of justice, and the administration of justice is strengthened in the region. The greatest wish one could have on a day like this is that the people themselves in Asia should learn the art of defending human rights. This art is basically to become vocal about their rights, to document all violations of rights as meticulously as possible, to share such information with as large number of people as possible, and to develop solidarity movements among the people themselves for the defense of human rights. The global and the international solidarity for human rights should improve with attempts to develop greater knowledge about the violations through proper documenting and articulation of rights.